Welcome back to Just Plain Crazy. I'm Brendan. Today's episode, down in the lair, we're going to show you how to make servo lead tubes out of mylar. We've already shown you how to do them out of cardboard. Now, mylar. Let's do it. Alright guys, so we're going to get going with making our mylar tube. Again, this is 6 MIL mylar. And when we fold this and roll this, you only want to go a time or two around. So we don't need the full width of this. So we're going to trim this, let's call it roughly in half. There. There. We're just going to go ahead and cut it. Alright, that's done. Now this whole process is really actually very simple. We're going to tuck the edge underneath. I'm using a carbon rod the size, or tube, a carbon tube the size that I want. So my mylar turns out just the same. If you want to make it nice and taut, pull it, like get it rolled over a little bit, tuck it underneath, like so, and then pull it taut into it. From here, just keep rolling onto that edge. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take our heat gun and we're going to heat the snot out of that edge that's right down there, and then we're going to roll it right on it. Give it a press. And you just have to get it hot enough that you see that edge starting to curl. And then push that pressure onto it. And then you'll see it'll stick. Now you can see down there our tube's not long enough, so we're just going to push the tube all the way down. Now we can get this final edge. And there you have it. There's a nice mylar servo tube for you guys. Make them any size you want. Super cheap, super easy. Now this dash panel kit here that I'm unboxing is from iFlyTailies. Now this is actually set up for a 2-cockpit system, or a 2-seat cockpit system, if you will. I'm only going to use the 1 dash panel. We start off by assembling the framework, and it's just laser cut ply using just simply CA. Now the plexiglass, or Lexan, whatever it is there, actually has little decals over the windows, so you can actually clean that up really good, primer it and paint it, and actually not paint on the area where the gauges will shine through. So that's all I did here in this portion. There's my paint booth. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to paint that a base white. I gave it a little bit of contrast from what the rest of the plane's going to be with the silver. Now we're just going to go ahead and use an X-Acto knife and pick out those center tape-off areas over the gauges. And we use a glue stick and we glue on his gauge cutouts on the back side. So that way the gauges show through and now they have glass over the front. So we went ahead and we painted, you can see all those little purple circles right there. Those are the outlines for the gauges. So we just finish up some trimming and laying in the gauge panels in the back while those are drying. But that way it gives a nice color contrast. Now you could use black or whatever suits your fancy. And I'm just gluing these on using canopy glue. And the reason I opt for canopy glue is it's not aggressive as CA. and it does hold really well, especially as it gets warmer, which it will in that cockpit. But it also dries clear, so you're not going to see it or any of the acid from like CA when it dries. As we get older, we need the little Google goggles right there to help us zoom in, and we just go ahead and paint up all of our little doodads, and we're using the canopy glue to attach them. My only real mistake as I did all this, the fuel gauge in there, I accidentally put the 3/4 tank and the half tank readings upside down, or backwards if you will. I later corrected that before we did the final install into the plane. So things happen. All right, guys, inside the canopy, we have our instrument cluster all mounted in. That's epoxied and now waiting. And I also added the black edge stripping along the inside of the canopy. So this can sit and dry overnight. We're going to get started on something. All right, guys, it's Brendan and Donnie, you recognize. So Donnie always does my camera work. I'm actually up in Lock Haven, PA. Behind us is Piper Aviation Museum. You can see it over there. And here, home of Piper. But over there is the Bill Piper Memorial Airport, where we hold the Wings Over Piper fly-in every year. We go to that great event. But anyway, I'm here with Donnie, and he's helping me get this plate bent for the bottom of the pits. So let me show you what's going on. All right, guys, so now we're gonna, I'm with Donnie, and we're going to get this metal plate fabricated for the bottom. And this is what they give you. So it is in a, I guess that's a trapezoid shape already. Yeah. So what we have to do is kind of mark our angles here. And I got with Donnie to do this mainly because he's got a press brake for us, so we can get really nice precision bent angles to make this as clean as possible. Once we have this bent, we're gonna have to trim out the landing gear, and I think we're gonna, as we discussed, trim out the front and then come in, so that way the gear can rock back and forth because it has a suspension to it, and it leaves this with some strength. If there's any type of gap left over, I might just get some just simple bicycle rubber for in there and fill in that gap instead of the piece of sheet metal hanging over the edge here that they want, because I didn't like the look of that at all. But anyway, so what we did is we made an outline. His press brake's inside in the garage, and we traced this out over those pieces there just so we can get the right angles. We have our marks fore and aft, and what we're going to do is we're just going to bend those to fit into those angles, come down. If we have to tweak, we'll tweak. So let's get to it. All right, so in the press brake from the 1300s, but when you need something, you need something, and this thing's going to work out fantastic. I see it coming already.
I don't want to overbend it, so let's just take a look.
That's pretty wild. I don't have the templates. You have the templates? There's the templates.
More.
So that's, which one is that? One's the, so if we have,
this is the front.
No, that's the back. Yeah, so this is the forward.
Right. So more.
Okay, more. Excuse me, sir. May I have more? Yeah, we can make that pressure.
Work. Yeah.
All right, guys, there you go. Good. Check that out. That thing looks pimp, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. I love it. Donnie did a rescue again. All right, guys, check it out. Look at that. So really nicely contoured with that press brake, and as we add a little pressure and put screws in there, that thing's going to seal perfectly. Now we have these gaps because that's where our gear sit. All right, and again, if it's gapped, I might just do a piece of rubber or something in there to take some of that up. We are doing smoke, so I want to try and keep things sealed, but that sits on the top. This will all get painted. So now what we have to do is we have to manufacture grooves, because this thing's going to sit in there. So now you have to, and we're going to use some cardboard to make a template and see how that works. But we have to be able to have this thing spring like this a little bit. So it's really this large bar right there that we have to make accommodations for and still maintain the strength down here along this edge, and not just have it free float. So we're going to do a little bit of figuring there and see what we come up with. But otherwise, as far as the angles, it was well worth the trip up here to see Donnie, and he's super helpful as always. All right, so we got our template cut, and it looks like what we're going to do here is just do a T, and then that way as this gear articulates, right, it moves with suspension because I pancaked the thing in. We'll have that movement in that plate, and that should be good. And now we don't have huge openings, and again, I can even seal all that up pretty good to keep some of the garbage out with just a piece of thin rubber, bike tire, silicone, something. We'll find a way to keep that looking clean in there, but otherwise that's all stuff's all sealed. Well, that wooden firewall and everything else, that's epoxy sealed from the beginning. But I like this, so let's go ahead and transfer this into our piece of sheet metal. And oh yeah, no Crocs by the way today. We'll go from there. All right, guys, check it out. So, and this is why I have people help me, like this guy. Look, right there, Clark's Commercial Services. If you need any of your kitchen appliances fixed for your business, pizza ovens, or convection ovens, right? I got you. It probably needs a motor. I got this. It's easy. But anyway, so special thanks to this guy right there. But check it out. We got our notches made, and we can articulate in there, and it's not like super carved out or anything else. I like it. As far as we need spacing there, right, for movement, and we need spacing here for movement. I'll probably go back over and just repurple all of this, but I also think I'm gonna find a way to put just some rubber in there or something to take up any spacing, because I don't think you really see that at all from above.
No.
But just something to clean it up, because we'll have smoky smoke oil coming out of here from Holy Smokes, our Holy Smoke smoke system. Just whoa, just bellowing white smoke out there, just whoa, all down the back. And you know, they say nothing kills an airframe quicker than smoke oil. We love it. So anyway, now we're gonna have to go through and painstakingly mark these, center punch them, and drill them, so that way we're going down into these thick formers. But you could see how thick they are, but you do want to make sure we drill and we put screws in there, and then we're going to have to paint this to match Raspberry Mousse it. So super happy. So we pre-drilled all those holes. We wicked in some CA. Now I'm just showing you guys. This is my buddy Donnie's idea. He's the one that said, hey, why don't you just leave this, instead of painting it like I was going to, leave it silver, and then just go ahead and anodize that. And I think that look is going to be incredible. Now, the other thing we came up with is we're going to use, this is a 32nd of rubber. and I am going to laminate this underneath. I'm going to cut out the whole center so that way we don't have any excess weight, and then that way this rubber will come out and just fill in that gap, because it's going to come from under the plate. It's actually going to help to seal and protect in between the covering and this so it doesn't chew through it. But I think that corner there and this one I'm actually going to round here a little bit. But anyway, so the rubber will sit underneath it to help seal it from smoke oil, but also to come up underneath to fill in those gaps. And I'm probably going to do the same thing here. I'm going to cut some edges instead of sheet metal and either let it come down, or I'm just going to tuck it in underneath so the gap is filled and you can't see it at all, which you really can't see it from out here anyway, but I'd like to get it covered. And then also the rubber will sit right in the inside of here, so that way I can just cut 2 little slits, and as that tracks, it'll help to keep as much junk out as possible. So that's the plan. There you go, the belly pan's on. So this is what I did with the rubber to inlay. So this ought to help with any smoke, debris, but this is also, the rubber protects the metal from the covering so it doesn't chafe and rub through. It's sealed there and there. It fills in those gaps. It just looks good. And again, thanks to my man Donnie. He said, hey, why don't you just polish that and then put those anodized washers there. My God, does that look beautiful. Anyway, we're done. Let's drop it on its feet. All right, I've waited till now to put in the elevators, the control horns, just because I wanted to make sure that everything fit right, matched right, the right angles, that we're over center line of the hinge point. So there was a lot that I wanted to make sure is right. So everything is now painted, ready. What we're going to do is go ahead and get the epoxy mixed up. We've taped off to make sure we don't have an excess of runnage all over the place. Don't forget, always rough these up and drill holes in there so that epoxy has something to grip into. But we're going to go ahead and fill that and let that stuff sit for a couple hours, make sure that it's good and solidified before we play around with it. But I think we're good to go. Here you can see an easy way to keep all that stuff easily aligned. Just clamp a piece, set of rods. That'll hold that nice and level. And then you can see I put the bolt, the pivot right there on the hinge line. Give you the most neutral, inverted, or flying level. So should be good. We'll let this sit for an hour or so. We'll come back and take it off. All right, guys, first step in cutting our spinner is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna mount the back plate and the prop and get everything centered. And here you can see I'm going to mark the width of the prop, and then I'm going to mark in where my back cut needs to be. And because this is such a thick prop, if you don't do the back cut, you're going to wind up with just a huge gap and it's not going to look as nice. So I use a square just right here over the edge like that. Make sure that everything is nice and flat, and then that's how I transfer my marks. So now we're going to take this off and we're going to transfer those initial width marks to the spinner. There you can see we transferred the marks from the spinner base plate onto the spinner. And now we're going to pop this off and we're going to lay our prop on the spinner back plate and measure that. Now we can just use a sliding machinist rule, and I know the depth off of my back plate. Now keep in mind the spinner is going to fit down in this groove, so I do have a little bit of a margin here for error, but I'm going to go off of there and I can always just keep trimming that upper part as needed so I get a nice fit. That's why it's so important when setting spinner depth with a cowling on a new build, you know what type of spinner you're using. So once you have that, all you do is transfer the marks from here onto your spinner. All right, and you do that on both sides. Once you have the width overall, now you go ahead and you take your template and you can just lay your template right over like so. Then remember, start off small. This gives you a general idea, so trim a little bit at a time until you get the desired result. I could have probably left a little bit more in here, but I'm okay with the way it turned out. I'm happy. All right, it's time to drill our prop. So always get yourself a prop jig. It's best to use a drill press on the bench so you know everything's nice and straight. And I mark my holes so I don't screw it up. And what you're going to do is you're going to place that peg in that center hole. And I notice if you take your time and don't shove it all the way down through there really quick, it'll drill straight. Otherwise, if you force it, the bit walks a little bit. Once you drill your first hole, drop in a peg, and between that one and the center pin, that will hold it into place. And you just take your time and drill through it. All right, so let me show you guys what I'm doing to put in the aerobatic windows. I've taken some plexiglass and cut that. Lexan, plexiglass, whatever it is that you want to use. Obviously, we shaped this during the build, and as I was building, I measured out and kind of build a little shelf for this thing to sit on. I just painted up the trim in there, and now we've done a final test fit. I've ground down some spots, if you can see them right there, for the screws to set through, so that way the screws with the washers that are already built in will squeeze all the way around and hold it. Now, as far as sealing those in, I'm just using some regular clear silicone. I think that'll grip them really well. The screws will hold it in. And actually, believe it or not, the trim around the outside here is actually really clean. This thing fits really, really well. And part of what I'm doing with the silicone is using it to make a thicker gasket. So that way, like here, this just sits down a little bit. I only draw the screw down until it hits the side of the fuselage, and then it won't pull the glass all the way in. It'll actually leave it somewhat flat with the surface because the silicone's built up behind it. And once it's screwed down, we're going to let it sit there until it cures. Then I'm going to take all the screws back out, and then I'm going to trim around it with some silver HVAC tape to make it look clean, really clean, and then I'm going to put the screws back in that. So on the other side of this thing, there you can see what that looks like, and that looks pretty good, but I'd like it to be cleaner just so you don't see any of the silicone and stuff there. So that's why we're going to go with the taking these out now and putting the HVAC tape in. So it's sat for a few hours the other side. Let's get this side done, and then we'll trim up the other one. Welcome back to Just Plain Crazy. I'm Brendan. Thanks for joining me on this glorious day. It's been 2.5 years in the making, but the EMHW 47% pit special is finally done and ready for its maiden. So let me take you around this thing. This is a, again, 47% EMHW kit. It's about 2.5 years in the making. This is the Jeti Panzer replica. This thing comes in at a 100-inch wingspan, weighs 48 pounds. This is polyfiber Stitz fabric covering. It is a tropical glitz polyester paint over a UV protectant. The clear coat is by KDS, and it is called Diamond Clear. The pinkish purple is raspberry mousse with a berry jam flake. The black is a semi-gloss base black, and then a cosmic black flake. And then the gray, the silver, is all galactic silver. Pilot is by Tailored Pilots. You can see the dash on the inside. All the replica decals are from Cali Graphics. Engine in this thing is a Volek 170 twin cylinder 4-stroke. This has a Fiala 32 by 12 prop. You could see we put the baffles in there. Got the screen, exhaust. This thing, guys, absolutely stunning. Check out the aerobatic windows. I'll take you underneath and show you the bottom. There you can see the checkerboard, color match screws, linkage. Check out that belly pan. Nice as that. There's the bottom of the top wing. And there you have it, guys. I hope you love it as much as I do. This thing was an incredible project to take on. I love the way it turned out. I hope you do as well. So that's it. It's a wrap. No more vids. I told you it would take a while, and now we're completely done with the pits. So with that being said, I'm Brendan. This is Just Plain Crazy. You guys are just plain crazy for always hanging out and watching. I appreciate every one of you for stopping in and doing so. Smash that thumbs up. It helps us out a lot. If you're going to hit that thing, man, I don't know why, but do that thing twice for sure. Like, share, subscribe, all of our content. It helps the channel grow immensely. Don't forget to check us out on the official Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok Just Plain Crazy pages. So with that, we're out of here. I wish you guys happy flights. Peace out.